Hello guys, long time no see, but how are you? And welcome to hashtag the world of cool features. In this video, we're talking raw video versus log footage. Are they the same? Are they related? What do they even mean? Let's start with raw, and to explain that better, let's talk about camera sensors. If anyone wants a detailed video on camera sensors, how they work and all that, just put a comment down below, happy to make that video. But just to make this one short and simple, a camera sensor receives light, then splits it into three. So that's red, green and blue. Yeah, commonly known as RGB. And then these analog splits, RGB, they trigger digital signals which the camera records. I'm watering it down. Courtesy an analog to digital converter electronic chip. So, but majorly what happens then is that the camera processes that information into a baked and finished video file, which you can then view and edit and consume. So all these MP4s and MOVs, these are all file formats and containers that, our cameras create. A lot of visual and light information is captured and compressed by your camera, by the way, to give you that clip, which you can easily consume anywhere. Raw video is different. It's kinda not even a video. It's that light and color information that your sensor received, literally just handed out to you, with the camera doing nothing to it. It's literally the raw visual information of what the sensor saw given to you in certain proprietary formats. The ability to give out this raw footage is one of the key differences between a prosumer pro camera and a proper cinema camera. Well, in the case of RE, you get RE RAW. Red gives you red code RAW. Older Blackmagics, they used to shoot cinema DNG. I mean, they still do. But now Blackmagic 2, they have their own RAW called B RAW, Blackmagic RAW BRAW. And since raw footage is simply data from your camera sensor's photo sites, it's not a video file per se. You can't just play it anywhere unless you have specialty software. You can't, just copy raw files and double click on them to preview them. Not all video players, market legacy players, they'll accept raw footage. And, all editing softwares, not all of them might accept raw file formats out of the box. A raw file needs to undergo a deburring process in post-production software for it to turn back into a video signal. While all cameras on earth do similar in-body conversion processes for you, but remember, when they do so, they apply compression to make file sizes smaller and manageable, and for many other logistical and business reasons, but I shan't get into that. They also hard-code exposure information into the file, and since every camera manufacturer has a different definition of good looking, you can get different looking footage from different cameras despite shooting the exact same scene and situation, of course with the same exposure parameter set as well. Well, in the case of raw footage, that doesn't happen. It's unprocessed data, so while the file sizes are ginormous when compared to regular video files, you get the ability to manipulate that raw data as well. You can change ISO values in your NLE or non-linear editing program. You can change white balance values, and all of this after the fact that you've actually shot your footage. Imagine. And since this isn't compressed, you also get a lot more information. So dynamic range is wider. You get lots of information in the brighter as well as the darker parts of the image. This also gives your footage more room to be pushed and pulled in color correction, but do not misuse it. But a very good question then arises, if raw footage is also flat looking and obviously log video is also pale and flat, aren't they the same? Nah, log footage, it's still video. By definition, it's still video. It is a processed, compressed, baked file that comes out of your camera, which is actually ready for consumption. This applies to the S-Log profile that you get out of Sony cameras, and another example, the V-Log on your Panasonic, and so on. They are cameras shooting log files, but they're not shooting raw files. But it is still much better than the processed contrasty videos that you get in linear color profiles. Difference being, instead of linearly filming, what you see is what you get, what you see is what you get, which is paralyzed by a camera sensor's limited capabilities. Log footage kinda expands the dynamic range. It records more of the shadow and highlight areas than traditional linear color space footage. So for all editing and color correction purposes, filming in log is creatively better than shooting linear or as is. And while log footage has more room to play in terms of color, shadows, highlights than traditional linear footage, it is nowhere close to raw footage in terms of post-production power and flexibility. You can't change log footage ISO or white balance organically, and also it'll break apart far quicker upon extreme treatment. And there it is. So now you know why cinema cameras cost so much, why raw is different from log. Hopefully I helped you in showing up on set smarter. So for 90% of you, this video is done. Thank you for coming this far. But for the rest of you curious people, stay back if you want to better understand what linear footage is and why log footage is this big of a deal. Just look at this graph. The x-axis is the dynamic range of an image. The y-axis is relative brightness. Since there are only 256 colors possible in an 8-bit color space, we grow from 2 to the power of 0, which is 0, till 2 to the power of 8, which is 256. So 0 is absolute pitch black and 255 is absolute blown white. Now, exposure values in digital cameras, while recording said exposure, they work logarithmically. But at the recording level for this data, a traditional linear curve maps these in a straight line. And while this is the standard and it has been pretty realistic and it is pleasing to the eyes, it poses a problem for people who work with image manipulation. There isn't too much space to save the low end of the image. You see how the shadows and darks, they are rationed less bit depth? Kinda explains why all shadow areas turn up splotchy and jaggedy, doesn't it? What a log profile does is changes this linear pattern. Instead of recording values linearly, it applies a log curve, thus giving more bit depth to the shadow parts of your captures. So you get a wider dynamic range, you get highlights, and you get more information out of your shadows. So you get more room to better manipulate your image in post-production. I really hope you had as much fun as understanding these fundamentals as I had in making this video. Wishing the best for you. See you soon. So clearly I simplified a lot here. You want a video wherein I detail all these concepts? Just drop me a comment.